Written by Sandeep G. Kochi. Updated October 7, 2017. 905 Yaya Toure was extremely shy but became outspoken as he grew older, and is now one of the stronger voices in football. Reuters. Cesc Fabregas remembers a particularly reserved boy from Argentina at the La Masia Academy. He was 14, just 4 feet 6, and his feet didn't reach the ground when he sat on the dugout bench. He barely spoke or interacted, so much so that Fabregas thought he was dumb. Until, of course, they began to share the PlayStation table and a football field. The little Argentine, of course, was Messi. Unlike Messi, his ex-teammate Yaya Toure is indomitably built, but he was notoriously shy of speaking to the Spanish media during his 3-year spell at Barcelona. He used to habitually bunk press conferences, and when he turned up, he usually dragged one of his Spanish teammates. Now, he's so outspoken, even dangerously outspoken, about both football and politics that he regularly churns out headline-worthy stuff. Both of them would instantly connect with Brazil's under-17 skipper Vitao's nervous confrontation with the press, mind you a press that doesn't understand a single word of the only language he knows, Portuguese, on Friday. That too before the biggest match of his budding career, against Spain. Before he entered the room, with coach Carlos Amadeu and the liaison officer who doubled up as translator, the coach was seen calming his nerves and tapping his shoulders to be at ease. At the moment he sat on the chair, the whole media glare zoomed onto him. He was anything but at ease. All the coach pep talk seemed to have gone vapid. His eyes would wander down the aisle, his long, swirling fingers tapping the table, as if he were in the middle of a Kasha concert. The press mediator shook his reverie. This question is for you. He trembled momentarily, before nodding his head in the affirmative, and flashed a reluctant, formal smile. The translator promptly translated the question, albeit with the help of translation app, which he resorts especially for digits. Vitao's mind might have been blank out of nervousness. He choked for words, tapped the microphone twice, before he turned to his coach, and the latter, sensing his ward's encumbrance, gave him an elaborate answer. It was not as if the question was convoluted. It was whether they had any pressure before the Spain match. Recurring theme. It was the recurring theme of the session. Vitao consulting the coach before answering and the coach explaining it to the translator, and often the coach intervening the translator, if he felt anything more needed to be explained. So, in effect, it was a translation of a translation. It goes without saying that the Brazil skipper was the most relieved man at the end of the 20-minute session. To pep him up, the coach was heard saying, "Buena espectaculo," which means good show. A relaxed smile was back on his face, like when he is in the middle, with a football at his feet. His Spanish counterpart Abel Ruiz wasn't any braver. The nervousness was perhaps accentuated by the pinkishness of his face. It were as if he were blushing, and he spewed the answers in one deep, long breath, so much so that in the end of it he would almost pant. His gaze was so sharp that it seemed it would burn the man who threw the verbal projective at him. And almost every answer was repetitive. Was it lost in translation and platitudinal? These are not the instances of two random, nondescript players fumbling for words. Ruiz, regarded one of the finest, a young forwards in Europe, was wooed by Manchester United and Chelsea for some around £20 before Barcelona lured him out of Valencia's academy. Vitao, a centre-back, was aggressively sought by Manchester City for around £30. Both are anointed to be superstars. But both are just 17. Maybe, it's the naivety of their age, or the unfamiliarity with the language and the strangeness of the faces. Maybe, it's the sheer pressure of being the youngest representatives of the loftiest footballing traditions of the world, which Vitao admits when you play for Brazil, you always feel pressure. Big pressure. The frankness suggests that he was not media trained to repeat like parrots the usual "we don't feel any pressure" type. A lot of clubs, more so in England, furnish their players with extensive media handling training. In clubs like Arsenal, the training, these days social media conditioning too, begins the day after a teenager signs up. This, no doubt, is a reason the English, American and German players seem more comfortable at the media gaze and understandably articulate. Like for instance, America's PSG recruit Timothy Ware speaks with a maturity that belies his age. Or for example the entertaining Angel Gomez, England's Manchester United wonderkind. Moreover, they are exposed to the media from a young age, unlike for say Ruiz who was bred in Valencia's countryside, or like Vitao who's from a São Paulo suburb. Even Messi took time to integrate with his roommates at the academy, let alone face a sometimes hostile press. But with exposure and experience, they will gradually shed their inhibitions, like the little Argentine and the big Ivorian. Another shy one was Messi's El Clasico rival, Iker Casillas, who ended up marrying a sports journalist. For all the latest sports news, download Indian Express app. Tags FIFA U17 World Cup 2017.